Well, the Saudi and Iranian governments are in competition to be leaders of the Muslim world. It's a very substantial part of the global population, fourth or fifth. And Saudi Arabia, going back now close to a century, has had control of Mecca and Medina, has had oil wealth, has had the Wahhabi doctrine, and sees itself as the natural leader of the Muslims. The Iranians, since the revolution of 1978-79, also see themselves as a leader. Now, one happens to be Sunni and the other Shia. Sunnis are by far the majority of Muslims, some 85-90%, and Shia are the minority, most of the rest. The origins of this difference go back to the very beginnings of Islam in the 7th century. The controversies between them, the hostility between them has waxed and waned. All I can say in brief is that when I took up the study of Islam in the Middle East 40-some years ago, this was not really a subject. There was not much of attention, nothing compared to today. And it was really with the Islamic Revolution of Ayatollah Khomeini in 1978-79 that today's tensions began. Ali Khamenei, not to be confused with Ayatollah Khomeini, Ali Khamenei, who is the leader of Iran today, has taken a very strong stand against the Saudis and warned them that the government will be overthrown, as have others. There's a very strong anger in Iran. And likewise, there's a strong anger in the Saudi circles, but also in other Sunni circles. So what we see is a ratcheting up of the Sunni-Shia tensions in the last few days. Where it's going to go, I can't tell you, but it does look like more violence is on the way. There's plenty already in Syria, in Iraq, and in Yemen in particular, but also latently in Lebanon and Bahrain, potentially in other places such as Pakistan and in Iran and Saudi Arabia themselves, each of which has a significant number of non-majoritarian, in other words, Sunnis in Iran and Shia in Saudi Arabia. The Iranian and Saudi governments have lots of differences already. To begin with, the Iranian government is revolutionary, the Saudi government is status quo oriented. So that is a disposition that reflects on all their policies. The Saudis are aligned with the United States and the West, though it's not the most best fitting of alignments, but they are definitely aligned with us. On the other hand, the Iranians, if anything, are more aligned with the Russians and the Chinese. They have differences in oil. The Saudis have a huge reserve. The Iranians not so big, which means the Iranians are interested, for example, in relatively low prices so that the rest of the world remains dependent. The Iranians are interested in getting as much money as quickly as possible. They differ in local, regional politics in terms of the situations in Iraq and Syria, where each are supporting, and Yemen, each are supporting opposite sides. They differ across the board. And so this latest incident with the execution of a Shiite figure in Saudi Arabia named Nimr, Tiger of the Tiger, is something that can launch those differences into a new, ratchet them up and launch them into a new magnitude of confrontation, conceivably war itself between these two countries. It also has implications for the Vienna deal that the six powers signed with the Iranian government back in July of 2015. It's already precarious in many ways, and Iranian aggression against Iranian aggression against Saudi Arabia could bring it down. From a Western perspective, it's difficult to find either side sympathetic. The Saudis, with their extremely severe, very unpleasant form of Islam, Wahhabi form of Islam. The Iranians, with their revolutionary Shiism, it's Hobson's choice between the two. Our governments have been aligned with Saudi Arabia, but it doesn't make it a more attractive place. One hopes for something else to emerge. The Kurds are one force that are more moderate. We're seeing in the Persian Gulf other countries, in particular the United Arab Emirates, which is somewhat in the middle and more moderate. One hopes that these extreme ideologies, as represented by the governments in Riyadh and Tehran, will fade away and something else will take their place. But that's not a likely prospect in the short term.